Everyone has a story. This is me when I was born, on January 15th, 1978. My mother always told me that I was going to be a star. But people's stories and journeys, they take some trials and tribulations. We pivot, we make mistakes, and we learn. For me, my journey has been one of many trials and tribulations. I was in special education my entire K through 12 experience. I was warehoused in special education. I was in self-contained classes. I had limited vocabulary. I had difficulty reading. I really had no hope in my life. My earliest time I can remember in special education was elementary school, where I was in self-contained classes with most of the kids that had behavior problems and not much learning that occurred in those classes. My behavior wasn't that well either. I was angry, I was bitter, I was a ticking time bomb. Anything or anyone that said something to me, I exploded because I was angry of not knowing how to read. This followed me all the way through elementary, middle school, and high school. In high school, my behavior was going faster than a bobsled team in the Olympics. Just down here, I was moving fast. I was getting in so much trouble. I found myself getting in trouble with the law. I had no hope. I had no dreams. I had no future, no focus. So one day, I had a teacher by the name of Mr. Carpenter. And Mr. Carpenter called me into his office one day and said, "Shawn, please come in here." And I said, "Oh, here we go again, another meeting with Coach Carpenter." I had a lot of these meetings. And Coach Carpenter said, "You know what, Shawn? I've tried everything with you. I tried to get you involved with sports, didn't work. I tried to get you involved with other curricular activities, it didn't work." He said, "By the time you're 18, you're going to be dead or you're going to be in jail." He said, "Because your behavior it's out of control." So he said to me, "I want to try one more thing." And I say, "What's that?" He said, "I want you to coach Special Olympics." Now I'm a sophomore, I'm angry, I have no identity, I don't know who I am, I'm trying to find myself in the school building. So he said, "I want you to be a mentor." I still couldn't read, I had a hard time writing. In 1994, that conversation with Coach Carpenter changed my life forever. I've been a coach for over 20 years with Special Olympics. I've learned so much about myself and leadership just because I had one person that took a chance on me. Now, granted, I still couldn't read. I struggled academically. And in fact, my sophomore year, I got kicked out of high school. I got sent to alternative high school for 2 years, where they sent children, students with behavioral or mental health issues. Not much learning occurred there, but I had some phenomenal teachers that I love today. I call, I speak. But those 2 years, I had to really change my behavior in order to coach Special Olympics. So they had me on a behavior plan to really change how I saw myself, how I interacted with people. And I started believing in myself because the student athletes I coached probably taught me more about who I am than I did helping them. They actually helped me love myself. They helped me find my voice, they helped me find my leadership, they helped me find my service, all because of Coach Carpenter getting me involved with coaching Special Olympics. Now still, I couldn't read. So going into my junior year, my mother was like, "I want my son to be successful. I want him to go to college." So she set up an appointment with the high school counselor, and her words to my mother were, "Shawn is not college material. He will not make it in college." So as a mother, any mother would do, she went out and found resources for herself. One day, she was at a beauty salon getting her hair done, and she heard other mothers talking about a program here in Wisconsin, at UW Oshkosh, for adult learners with dyslexia. So she called Dr. Robert T. Nash and said, "My son is struggling academically. No one's helping him. I know he has potential. I know he has a gift, but I don't know what's going on with him." So Dr. Nash said, "Hey, come up. I want to meet you and your son. Let's have a conversation." So we're driving in November from Wilmette, Illinois to Oshkosh, Wisconsin, our first time ever to Wisconsin. It was a blizzard. In the car, I'm kicking, saying inappropriate things to my mother because I was scared. I was scared. So she stops, calls Dr. Nash and said, "Between the snowstorm and my son acting immature, we're going to turn around and go home." we're just going to stop. And Dr. Nash said to her, no snowstorm should stop you from getting your education. So Mom said, oh, we got to go. We got to go. So we get back in the car and we drive. We get to Oshkosh, and Dr. Nash asked me to do some assessments. He asked me to spell the word came. I was like, easy, K-A-M. And he said, spell it again. So I spelled it again. He gave me some more assessments. Came back and said, you are one of the most illiterate, dyslexic kids I've ever met in my life, but you have a gift. You've been failed by the system, but I see potential in you. I'm going to teach you how to read. So I'm looking at him like just speechless. My mom's crying, I'm crying, everyone's crying. So on the way home, we're all crying, get back. No one believed me. No one believed that I was actually accepted into a remedial program at a university. No one believed me until I got my official letter from the university. These are my actual scores coming out of high school as an 18-year-old. I literally had an elementary education reading level as an 18-year-old coming out of high school. What future did I have? What hope? I couldn't imagine get through some of my basic classes because I couldn't read. I couldn't attack words, I couldn't break them apart. My comprehension was low, my math ability, everything. All that stuff affected me. So I started in Oshkosh. And Dr. Nash taught me about putting words together like a puzzle, like a construction worker, decoding, take things apart, put them together. He really taught me how to appreciate our language. Because at that point, without me really understanding how to decode and encode words, I couldn't comprehend anything. I didn't know anything about syllable types. Like I was just staring at a piece of paper, looking at print, which affected my fluency and my comprehension. And we know that up to 20% of the students have dyslexia. Again, my life has been changed by people who took a chance with me. And one of the people who took a chance with me, outside of Coach Carpenter, was Dr. Robert T. Nash. He provided me a space of hope. He believed in me, and he gave me a chance. So when he taught me how to read my freshman year of college, I became a sponge and absorbed as much knowledge as I could about myself, but about the content. I became just a consumer of education. I loved school. I loved to learn. But then looking back, if you would have asked me years ago, I didn't like school. I had no motivation. I had no drive. I had no dreams. I had no goals. I was literally a walking adolescent with no hope in my life. In a dark place psychologically, spiritually, I was just lost. Even though I've still got involved with coaching Special Olympics, I still didn't feel like I was going to be somebody. Because all I heard in my whole life was, Shawn, you can't do this. Shawn, you can't do this. Shawn won't do this. Shawn won't do that. So I heard people trying to write my narrative for me. So when Dr. Nash taught me how to read, I took control of my own journey. I took control of my own destiny. And so without him, I wouldn't be here today. I always make sure I talk about the people that helped me get where I'm at today. My mother, Coach Carpenter, Dr. Nash, and some other teachers I had throughout my career that really stood behind me and motivated me and pushed me to get where I'm at today. So literally after high school, I was in school 18 straight years. It's a long time. I'm tired. 18 years of discipline, frustration, encouragement, wanting to quit, everything. All the emotions you could think about were in those 18 years. It literally took me 6 years to get my undergrad degree because I had to make up everything I missed in my K-12 system in my undergrad. It was hard. It was probably one of the most difficult challenges that I faced academically. I had to think about the student athletes I coach in Special Olympics, about how society treated them, put them in a box, labeled them. So they were my inspiration to keep moving forward and try to help other people who were living similar situations that I did as a young adolescent in high school. Throughout those 6 years, I had professors fail me, told me I wasn't going to be anything, told me to do something different, but I kept persevering, like the little train, choo-choo. I just kept moving. I kept believing in myself. So after those 6 years, I decided to go on and get a master's degree. That took me 5 years because my academic ability coming out of undergrad to my master's program wasn't the greatest. I was on probation. My advisor said you have to get 3 Bs or better to maintain in a program at DePaul University. Again, it was the hardest thing for me to do because my writing wasn't strong. And so the first 3 classes I took, I got 2 Bs and a C. And our deal was if I didn't get 3 Bs, that I would not continue the program. So I was like, sorry, disappoint you. I didn't meet the expectations. Thank you for the opportunity. And he said to me, no, don't apologize. You're one of the hardest working grad students I've met. I'm going to waive that requirement. But I want one thing from you. I said, what's that? He said, I want you to go to the writing center as much as you can. Take advantage of those opportunities that are free. I said, okay. So those 5 years, I took every opportunity I could to meet with a writing specialist or a math specialist to help me become better and help myself so I could learn the things that I missed in K-12. I wasn't done yet. So after those 11 years straight out of high school, getting my undergrad and my master's, I said I want more education. I want to learn more about dyslexia. I want to learn how I can help other kids who are like myself in special education, who don't feel like they have a voice, they don't feel like they have hope. I want to learn more about how I can use my experiences to empower other people. So I went on, enrolled in a doc program, 7 years. Throughout those 7 years, I had to commute at the time from Green Bay to Milwaukee for school. It was hard because being in that environment, I was the only one out of my cohort that wasn't a teacher. So I didn't come with that background knowledge. So at that time, one of my undergrad professors, Dr. William Kitts, spent literally 7 years of his life being my tutor. So when I tell people I got a PhD, my professor who taught me how to read too also got a PhD because he literally bought all the books that I needed for my course and became my tutor. I'm not ashamed about that because it helped me really grasp what I was learning. It made me stronger in terms of my ability to communicate the topic of what we're learning. And I got to use my lived experiences to really ground what I wanted to do. And so those 7 years, I actually had 2 professors that failed me and said, Shawn, we don't think you're called out for this. You should do something different. School is really not for you. The same thing I heard when I was a young adolescent, when I was an undergrad or my master's degree. The same cycle and over again when people told me what I couldn't do. I couldn't respond the same way I wanted to respond when I was a young youth because that's not appropriate. So I had to dig deep inside and really work hard at it. So I took their classes again. And I actually told them when they told me that I was not passing the class and they were going to fail me, I told them, looked them in the eyes and said, I'm going to take your class again. I'm going to pass it. They were speechless. They didn't know what to say. I took their class. I passed it. So all my experiences from childhood to the present have really molded me into who I am today. It's allowed me to really use my voice and my experiences to give kids hope for a better future, hope to live out their dreams, hope just to live this world and make it better and serve people. And so one of the things that my wife, who's with me today, we decided was, a lot of people don't read research articles. I write a lot of research articles. Parents, kids, they're not going to read that. That's only for my peers in the academy. My wife and I said, you know what? We need to figure out how we can turn your story and work to reach kids like me. So what we did was we wrote a series of graphic novels called Dr. Dyslexia Dude. And the first one came out in 2017. The second one came out in March of 2020. And the third one right now is getting illustrated to come out in October. We didn't think it was going to take off or have an impact, but it has. We have reached over 7,000 kids with this book, both here and internationally. We just want to give kids hope. We want kids to understand that regardless of where they're at or where they're started, they can make it. A little hard work, a little discipline, a little love, some encouragement from good teachers, they can make it. And so we really want to empower kids, give them a voice. We want them to aspire to do great things. We want them to be CEOs, doctors, lawyers. Because when you're in special education and you have these labels and you're in self-contained classes, you don't really think much of yourself. You don't really think that you can make anything. You're like looking out the window, dreaming about what you want to do. But not always are there teachers that are going to help you get to that dream. And Coach Carpenter and Dr. Nash helped me get to my dream. I never dreamt about being a TEDx speaker. I never thought about being a published author. I never thought about the things that I'm able to do. But it was because of these individuals I'm here today. Give them hope and aspiration. And so I tell kids, give your gifts to the world. Let the world know who you are. Keep moving. Inspire to do great things with yourself. Never settle for what somebody else tells you what you can and cannot do. Being in that box where people label you, it's dark, it's lonely, and we don't want to be there. I want you to write your own story. I want you to write your own narrative. I want you to be the author of your own life. And that's the message we give through our books. And one thing I tell students when I think about hope is this. I'd like everyone to repeat this for me, please. The H is for help. Help. The O is for opportunity. The P is for progress. And the E is for empowerment. So no matter what we do in our lives, we're helping somebody or we're getting helped. Through that help, we provide opportunities. Then, through those opportunities, people make progress. And one thing I tell students all the time is that one thing no one can take away from you is empowerment. You're empowered. You have your voice. And so I thank you for this opportunity. And as you leave here today, just remember, keep hope in your life and keep moving forward. Thank you.